Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Backer and welcome to Off the Wall Novels. This is my co-host Pringle. He's a little wily right now. I haven't really been posting a lot on this channel or on TikTok or on Instagram because I think around like February, shortly after I put out my Age of Innocence video, I had this big creative lull. I put it out there and there was this sense of like, okay, now what? What's the goal here? What's the desire behind all of this activity that takes a lot of time and energy? And I was just starting to realize that I think I was kind of playing out a game that I'd set up for myself throughout most of my 20s, where if I can isolate myself and work really hard and have something to show for it afterward, then this will like fill a void or make me become successful or connect me with important people. And that, I think, really made sense to me at a certain point in my life, but I started to feel the tension that the entire game that I was playing was kind of silly and not serving me and just outdated for myself. And so I gave myself permission to take a step back. I went on a trip to Big Sur with some friends that I knew from Chicago, but we kind of got to know each other more in Los Angeles, and that was really cool. I'll pepper in some B-roll of some of the footage of the waves and stuff. It was a great trip. But yeah, since then, I've just completely refocused my career aspirations. I'm still going to be creative and do all of my different pursuits that I have been, except I'm shifting my focus completely to teaching as a career. And so I just got accepted into NYU's residency program, which is super cool because I get to stay at the school that I'm currently working at, and I'll begin that later in June. But that's been the main reason I haven't really been posting anymore, is that I was just realizing like I didn't really set out to be a YouTuber or to be a TikToker. I am giving myself permission to just not really post as much because, yeah, I think it is draining a lot of that creative energy and focus into stuff that is not as satisfying as like a big project like this next project that I'm working on right now. So that's called The Kingdom of Liminal Space, and it is liminal space like the memes or the sort of online aesthetic of these places in transition, flooded subway stations, old abandoned malls. I really like that aesthetic, and I think it resonates with me in a way that a lot of the other art that I've been consuming does not. Because I love postmodern lit. Everybody should know that if you're watching this video, but I'm not sure it really speaks to my personal experience. It's definitely, I think, the experience of these kind of like high-profile academic types that they're very funny and they're very creative, but it does seem very polarizing. And even though I've taken so much influence from these authors, I want to drift into a more personal kind of storytelling. And so The Kingdom of Liminal Space, this project I'm working on, is going to have a novella and an album, both of which I'm writing right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with me mining my personal suburban upbringing and not trying to emulate the different urban aesthetics that I've seen and grown accustomed to from having lived in Chicago and Los Angeles and now New York. I just am realizing how much of suburban aesthetic actually comes from trying to, appropriate those styles and then put your own spin on them, or just completely watering them down. And so, ironically, even though I am trying to put more of my suburban upbringing into these projects, a lot of what I'm capturing is that sense of feeling like 10 years behind the coasts, and feeling that you do have like a very watered down aesthetic just from like the siding on the houses or to the different kind of media that you're exposed to. And I've been reflecting on how I grew up going to Hot Topic and what sort of branding and messaging and marketing was put into that store in order to appeal to me as like a 13-year-old. That made me curious to get into different kinds of bands and stuff, and realizing that it was simultaneously authentic to me because it appealed to me at that age, but then also realizing that this was a consumer decision by people in boardrooms to, make certain decisions about like the way the font was put up or the sort of architecture of the inside. And all of that I'm trying to capture in the book. And then the album aspect of it is going to have a lot more to do with this sense of a lot of the like kind of creative frustrations that I've expressed in other videos on this channel of just like wondering what is the point of doing all of this, and how much of it is a lie when we tell ourselves like, oh, I don't want to be successful. The idea of the American dream is silly. But then when you're really honest, or at least for me, when I was really honest with myself, I thought I'd rejected all of that, but everything that I was doing was geared toward this future date that maybe I could check out of society and have enough money to completely isolate myself, and just realizing that that's not the answer. And so the novel is going to follow a character who I think is going to be a girl. Even though it's really mining a lot of my personal experiences, I just want to challenge myself to write a female protagonist because my 2 previous books have been about men. But a lot of it is going to be this character realizing that a lot of the creative output that she's invested herself in is from a bygone era that might not return, and just realizing that all of your investment and time that was put into there seems like it was wasted, and then wrestling with whether it was wasted or not, and then trying to remain open to discovering new possibilities within art and escape the artifice of the suburbs, and create some sense of authenticity out of all of these constructed parts. And that's really something that's been on my mind a lot. I think it resonates a lot with metamodernism, and recognizing that a lot of the postmodern greats that have inspired me are correct in determining that everything is a construction, but then realizing, well, what are we going to do now? We have to try to build something out of those constructions and acknowledge that it's a construction and try to forge together some sense of authenticity within that. So that's really where I've been. I'm not sure if I have much more to give away right now, so I'm going to leave it at that. And I am going to be releasing another EP before the Kingdom of Liminal Space comes out, so stay tuned for that. I'm still figuring out the best way to release that. It's about 6 songs. Each are in a different style, as far as I'm concerned, and I still need to pepper on a couple more parts to flesh out some of the later songs. Might release them one by one, might release them as an EP. Not really sure for right now, but that is basically where I've been at, if you were curious why I haven't been posting. So I'm going to leave it there. This has been Daniel Backer with Pringle on Off the Wall Novels. Thank you for watching.